Okay, so what do you need to know to support Ukrainian refugees? And you can see this picture. Maybe some of you know that it was in Kiev. I hope it's still there. But Kiev and central square of Kiev looks very much different nowadays and doesn't look so peaceful and beautiful as it is on the picture. But let's move on. First of all, one of the biggest problems you may encounter is language. And obviously you may be really, really worried because you think how we are going to communicate. People will come, they will be vulnerable, they will need your support, your understanding. How am I going to show it? How will I understand what they need? To start with, just want to, yes, hello everyone. I'm just going to, could you, everyone who joins, please mute yourselves for now, and then you'll be able to ask questions. Okay, thank you very much, just to get rid of. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. I asked to unmute. I didn't mean to. So first of all, you know, Ukraine is a very large country. It's really difficult just to say that everyone in Ukraine is like this. Everyone in Ukraine speaks this language. Everyone in the Ukraine likes this food. It's not true. Ukraine is the largest country territory-wise in Europe. It's quite big. It's quite diverse. And many people in Ukraine will have Russian as their mother tongue. And there will be people in Ukraine, quite a few of them, many people whose mother tongue is Ukrainian. And these languages are different, but they have quite a lot of similarities. But it doesn't mean they don't understand Ukrainian or don't understand Russian. We were all taught to be bilingual. My mother tongue is Russian. My mom was sort of Russian origin. My father is Ukrainian origin, but also from Russian-speaking family because he's from Eastern Ukraine, from Zaporizhia. So I speak Ukrainian as well as Russian. I understand both languages, but Russian is my mother tongue. And they will appreciate if you have some knowledge of Russian, even if they're Ukrainian-speaking refugees, they will appreciate your effort to communicate with them. So don't be afraid to use a Russian word. I don't think they will be offended in any way because the war is not between languages or cultures. The war is between politicians, isn't it? And I think people understand this, and I hope that, you know, how you open your hearts and homes for them will show that we are people and we love each other, and it doesn't matter which language we speak. So might be good or just sort of out of interest to understand and find out what is their mother tongue, but don't be afraid, they will understand you anyway if you try to use either Russian or Ukrainian if you know one or the other. Another good thing is that in the majority of schools, I don't like saying all schools, even though I'm tempted to, we learned English. I started learning English when I was 6 years old and learned it up until I got to the university. And when I came here, I carried on learning. I'm still learning it. So they have some basic knowledge of language. Just use simple phrases. And also help yourself with hands, help yourself with expression on your face. That tells them more maybe sometimes than words. So, and yeah, just use simple phrases, show at things. And if they don't know, just use a few times the same word, saying a cup or a mug. And then after a few times, they will repeat this word and they will remember and remind themselves of the word they learned many years ago. So just they need probably a little push to remember those words which are hidden somewhere deep in their brains. And it's very important to encourage them to learn, because many people who will come, they will be scared and they will think, okay, we are just here to wait for a little while until the war is over. We all want it to be over. But it's important for them to be active, not to go into sort of lazy, depressed state. And I think you need to encourage them with this and say, go on, maybe learn language, learn English, encourage them to communicate with other people. It's very important. And yes, maybe for some time, use Google Translate. There's nothing wrong with using it. There are lots of good options there. You can actually, especially maybe if they go out somewhere, they can just take their phone and it will show translated version. Anything works. You need to communicate, whatever you use, everything is fine. And Some people may just sort of get advantage of the situation and learn a new language. It's completely up to you, and you can get some help from them as well. And I think they will feel that they're sharing something lovely with you because you're sharing your home and your life with them as well. So it's completely up to you. You need to find what works for you, because you will be living with these people for at least 6 months. You must be happy as well as them. So find something that works for you. Just going to move on. If you have questions, let me know. What do you say after you say hello? There is a lovely book called like this. People are British people. If you ask them, how are you? Or are you okay? They will say, I'm okay. Russians, Ukrainians, they're different to this. They will start telling you the story of their life quite often. And quite often you don't want to know it. You're just sort of greeting each other. So be ready for this. So a simple question like, how are you? They usually expect to hear, I'm fine, thank you, may turn out into, being a prompt for a very long, honest answer with lots of details and lots of private live references and so on. And it's okay, might not be the answer you'll hear for a while, especially because they probably won't be okay when they come here. And okay, I'm going to say we're British because I feel very much at home here. I just can't live without 100 or 1,000 sorries a day, and thank yous, maybe another 1,000 thank yous a day. It's just, and when you ask, we would say, could you please do this, or do you mind doing that? In Russian, it's just because grammar is different. In Russian and Ukrainian, we don't use such lengthy expression to ask for a favor, or could you please be so kind to pass me salt or a piece of bread? We would just say, give me bread in a nice way. And maybe we'll say, please. And it is polite. It's just different way of phrasing the same. So please don't be offended if they just say, give me bread, please. You may after a while, and I think they will just copy you and use your expressions after a while as well, but just know that that's normal, and it comes from the structure of the language. And there is another thing, many people in Ukraine think that polite smile is a fake smile. So smiling in the streets, I did after I was here for a year, I went back home and I thought I'm going to smile in the streets because I love smiling to people. And the best result, well, after a while, what I got from one person was like this. So like, she is mad, that's probably why she's smiling. And it's just cultural. People smile when they're at home. They will smile really heartily to someone they know, to their friends and family. Smiling in the streets, considered to be fake smile. Why are you smiling? There's nothing sort of funny or whatever. I disagree with this, but that's how it is. And I'm sure after a little while with you, they will change their opinion and will enjoy a smile. Because I know my father goes in the street for a little walk and he says, oh, everyone is so saying hello and smiles. It's so nice. So I think they will change, but don't think that they're unhappy if they don't smile straight away to you. Okay, so it's just cultural difference, another one. There are many more cultural differences. I'm just going to throw in a few. Flowers, if you decide, put flowers to make them welcome, I just want you to know that only odd number of flowers can be given to people. So even number of flowers is for funerals. And some people may be very specific about this and may worry that something would happen to them if you give them even number of flowers. I was like this when I came here for a bit. So I would count my flowers and take one out and put 5, not 6. So, 11, not 12. So again, it's some prejudice, and there are lots of prejudices in Ukrainian culture and so on. Just a little thing which might be worth knowing. Ukraine, Russia, so on, very patriarchal society, quite patriotic society. So, and it's actually what my partner told me, don't forget to mention this. So it's more man-oriented still, and needs of a man are more looked sort of, I don't know how to say it. It's difficult to talk about it, I think, to me as well. You will mostly have women with children, so I don't think it will be that noticeable, but quite often they would look after their men first and look after their children first, not that much about themselves. So that's probably something you will notice. Now, my partner insisted that I mention that knives are not often used, meaning knives and forks. To be honest, my father just doesn't know how to use a knife. I don't want to be embarrassed about it. It's what my father is. He wasn't taught. I was taught to use knives and forks later on, not at home. So I eat with a knife and fork, but my father actually doesn't know how to hold it, which hand to hold it with. So we just gave up. He said, oh, use what you want. And he just uses a fork. Fine. So some people wouldn't know or wouldn't be used to use knives and forks, but some people do. So it's again, it's not the rule of all. And it doesn't mean they're stupid or silly or anything like this. No, it wasn't important in their family, it didn't run in their family. So that's something they might pick from you and be different in a way. But it's only a few things. There are many more. I just couldn't make, probably, it's impossible to make the whole list. Slippers, right. Many of us use slippers. I like my feet to be warm. But I know many of us here don't use slippers because we have lovely carpets as well on the floors. I think the majority of Ukrainians will use slippers. And coming home, change into slippers. They wouldn't walk around the house in shoes. If there is a baby in the house, it can be, people can even leave shoes outdoors because you don't want to bring any dirt into the house. So I remember when my daughters were born, my mom told me that I had to iron their clothes on both sides to kill all bacteria or virus or anything. I didn't do it for a long time, stopped ironing at all, just to be on the safe side. Didn't have time for this. But it can be a bit extreme, you know, and that's one of these things. So it's just sort of, you don't want to bring any virus, any dirt, any bacteria, anything into the house. Maybe there's nothing bad about this, nothing wrong about this. Yeah, just so you know, don't, obviously you don't have to change anything, but they might use slippers and change into them every time. It's quite common to use clothes as well. When they come home, change clothes, because it's considered that, again, you can bring virus, you can bring stuff from the outside, which you don't want to have at home. So yeah, my parents always changed when they came home, and I think many people do. Just a little bit to know. Yeah, that's true. So difference in temperature. Many people in Ukraine, especially who come from big cities, they lived in flats, multi-storied buildings full of flats, and they didn't have control over the temperature in their flats. So it was controlled by someone who decided it's time to switch on heating in all these flat apartment blocks. And then people inside, they couldn't control the temperatures. So we used to have, I don't know, temperature more than 25 probably degrees in winter. But then at times it was really cold because someone there decided it was too early to switch on heating for us. So kind of we depended on someone else's choices. So people are used to having hot temperature in their flats. Obviously, it's different here. We control what happens in our houses, and we don't want to overspend. That's normal. That's just being normal people. Luckily, now it's getting warm, so I don't think you need to worry about it too much. But yeah, maybe just give an extra blanket. There was a suggestion on Facebook about it. Yeah, water bottles, possible. Yeah, and when people walk around house, if they don't have enough warm clothes, maybe just get somewhere oversized, sort of, you know, some like hoodie, something easy to wear, something to keep them warm, at least while it's still cold at night. So I remember when my parents used to come, we had temperature 19 I feel really hot if it's more than 19 in the house. And they said, goodness me, it's so hot in your flat. And I was absolutely fine with 20. I'm just sort of completely uncomfortable. So, but be aware of this difference. Yeah. Medicine. My father struggles here a lot because he wants to go to the pharmacy and buy medicine against someone switched on the sound. I can't. Yeah, it's gone. Wants to buy medicine against high blood pressure or something else, which here you can't buy over the counter. Even antibiotics can still be bought over the counter in Ukraine. And that's why up until I came here, and my father still thinks that antibiotics are the best cure for everything. And I'm still trying to explain it to him that viral diseases are not treated by antibiotics at all. So people are more used to using medicines there, and they just go, whatever they sneeze, they go to a pharmacy, they buy something against sneezing, they cough, they buy something against coughing. So here the system is different, and I think it will be up to you to help and explain it to them, that if they have some health conditions, they need to register with GP as soon as possible, go through the initial tests and make the doctor GP aware about the medicines they need. I'm sorry, can I let my cat in because he will be meowing? Nicholas, okay, quickly. Yeah, especially if they have some conditions. Obviously, if it's, you know, mild cough or anything like this, they wouldn't need any medicine. Oh my God, Nicholas, sorry, it's my cat. Again, painkillers, I think, are more often used here than they're used there. So if you, oh my God. Yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say, but my cat doesn't let me say, let's Nicholas, stop it. If you need to find out whether they have, any problems with health, and make sure or help them or suggest they register with GP as soon as possible. Registering with GP is easy. So what you do, you just, I don't mean you have to do it personally. I'm just explaining because I've done it recently for my father. I just went to the local GP in Bath Easton. We live in Bathford. We don't have GP here. And I said, I've got a father who came, the war started, he's stuck here. I need to register him with the GP because he's elderly, he has health problems. They gave me the form and said, you can take the form home. Actually, I did it over the phone. I talked to them first and then I went. So I picked up the form, brought it back home, filled it in, got my father's signature, brought his passport with me back so they could take a photocopy or check the passport. I don't remember whether they took a photocopy. And because I'm his carer now, he is almost blind and also he needs an interpreter, which I am. They also asked me to write a form where my father signs that he doesn't mind me being present when medical issues being discussed with the GP. And I took the forms back. Again, they looked at his international Ukrainian passport, a traveling passport, and they said it will take a few days to get NHS number generated. Then after a while, we got an email, no, not email, I got a letter by post saying, that's the letter, you know how they look, here we go, yeah. And it said the NHS number has been generated, that's your NHS number. It's very important to do it. I think there will be a page about it once again, because it's important, because once they have NHS number, if anything happens with them, you know, they've hopefully not, but they fall and break an arm, they will go to emergency, A&E. They need to refer to a GP where they are registered. And if there is an NHS number, they have no problem. They will be easily treated and they will be part of the NHS, okay? Because otherwise they may be a bit stuck and they won't be able to solve quick sort of medical issues they have. Explain how NHS works. meaning that you may need to give a call first thing in the morning to get an urgent appointment, or if it's nothing urgent, you may need to give a call and get an appointment in 2 weeks' time. That's something they're not used to. I remember asking my parents to make an appointment for dentist for me, and they said, why, you're coming in a month? I'm like, well, you need to make an appointment in advance. No, you'll come, we'll make an appointment for the next day. Different system. So here we learned to wait, and good things come to those who wait. I hope so. Yeah, they need to wait, but they need to be explained that it's normal to wait. That's something they should do. Yeah. Tea. British love tea. Ukrainians love tea as well, but we take it differently. I mean, I love tea with milk by now, but my father doesn't still. So black tea is very common in Ukraine. There are more and more people who start drinking other teas like fruit tea, maybe herbal tea or green tea. But again, black tea is most common still. You can offer people milk. They might like this option, but they might say no and would more appreciate a slice of lemon. Some people take a slice of lemon and some sugar with their tea. When I was a child, we spent a lot of time sitting at the table drinking tea, and we had a big samovar. You can probably see one. Oh, you can't see too well. Well, samovar is this thing I have on the top of my bookcase, the metal one. It's like a big kettle with a little tap. We had a proper, this is electric one, not a proper one. The proper one is where you put pieces of wood and the water stays hot. But we drank tea. And usually with the tea, we had varenya. Varenya is like jam or like conserve, you know, with pieces of fruit in, because our jam, you can spread it and it sort of can be quite thick here. But varenya is usually, like preserve, like fruit preserve, you know, fruit preserve here. And it's quite common to drink tea and eat varenya or this preserve with a little spoon. I don't know, that's just sort of a tradition. I'm not saying you have to introduce this tradition, but don't be surprised if people start doing this. That's quite normal. That's why I put jam. So not quite the jam we know, but more preserve where you have pieces of fruit, but yeah. At the table, just a few things. Chicken is quite commonly eaten now, many people in the past, and I will come to this once again, that main ingredients were pork and potatoes. Now chicken is considered to be a better option because pork is a bit fatty or very fatty sometimes. So people eat lots of chicken. It's considered to be normal to eat chicken with the hands because there are bones, and there's quite a lot of funny stories about it as well. So it's considered to be normal to eat chicken or any poultry with hands. So don't be surprised. Alcohol, if it's consumed at the table, people usually toast before they drink. So for example, if you have a glass of wine, you won't just sip it every now and again. You say a toast and you drink to good health, you drink to the peace, you drink to happiness, whatever you think is right in the circumstances. And quite often people drink it up. It doesn't mean you have to do this. I'm just explaining that that's something you might notice. So people toast, then they have a drink, and then quite often drink it up, especially if they drink to something really important and they believe that if they drink it up, it will definitely happen. So it's a bit of, you know, also belief. Bread, my father eats bread even with pasta. Don't ask me why, but bread is always on the table. If you have a meal, whatever you eat, you may have soup, which is normal to eat with bread here as well. You may have, I don't know, salad, you may have pasta. A plate with sliced bread should be on the table usually. And quite often it doesn't have to be toasted at all. So I think many people maybe like it now toasted, but in the past it was just sliced bread on a plate to take whenever you wanted. In Ukraine, people usually don't eat spicy food. There will be small number of people who like spicy food, but the majority of them won't. And I think generally food is saltier than we like it here. So yeah, be aware of, because for example, mild Indian food here can be really, really spicy food for Ukrainians. So with hot choices, be aware and maybe double check, or yeah, get people to understand what they can take. Definitely not hot curry, maybe not medium curry either. You can have a go with sort of mild ones. Soft food. What I mean by soft food is quite a lot of traditional dishes, and we'll have a look at them in a minute. They are made with minced meat, for example, so it's softer. You don't cut through a thick steak. Maybe that's why knives are not really needed in the end, because you can just cut through your food with a fork and eat a piece of it. So lots of minced meat is used for cooking, and I will talk you through it in a minute. Salted fish is very popular, something we don't have here. We have some smoked salmon, we can get smoked mackerel. In Ukraine, we love salted fish, salted herring, salted mackerel, smoked or salted. That's one of the, not a single celebration will be without salted fish of some kind. There are salads with salted herring. You can have it on a piece of bread with some butter. It's easy to make. You don't have to make it. I'm just letting you know that people might ask where you can get it. And in some, I know if you in Bristol, I don't really know many shops in Bristol. I'm sure there are some Polish shops. Polish shops usually do similar food, so you will find some smoked and salted fish there. They definitely do. I know in Bath we have a Polish shop in well, near the big Sainsbury's in central Bath, and sometimes they have smoked fish, and they always have packets of salted herring. Sorry, salted herring is completely essential for Ukrainian person. I'm suffering really much not being able to find it here. Of the quality you can get there. Salted herring, yeah, that's something they might really, really enjoy, and you can guide them there. Also, quite a lot of supermarkets do they have Polish aisles, for example, even in our big Sainsbury's. And I think, yeah, in Bristol, I remember in the past, Asda had quite a big section of Polish food where you could buy salted herring, you could buy some meats that Ukrainians love as well as Polish, and also, for example, cucumbers in brine, not marinated cucumbers, but cucumbers in brine, which are sort of saltier and more sour, and so on. A few other options which are traditional in Poland as well as in Ukraine. And dairy plays a very important role, especially if there are kids involved. And I know many mothers, and the majority of people will come with their kids. And talking about dairy, we'll come to Tworog in a minute. Tworog is quite essential. Again, it can be bought in Polish shops. In our supermarkets, the closest what you can get to is cottage cheese. But cottage cheese will be slightly salted. I think usually if you check the ingredients, there will be some salt and it will be a bit wetter. I'll show you a picture of Tworog in a minute as well. Soured cream, now you can buy it everywhere. When I moved into this country, it was difficult to get it. Now it's easy to find it. And also, if it's not soured cream, what is it? Crème de fraîche? No, cream with the French one. It's also quite sort of something that is similar to soured cream to us. What is it? Crème fraîche. Yeah, crème fraîche is also another option. Yeah, and usually children and people or grown-ups eat lots of tworog, which is consumed quite often with a soured cream, can be with some sugar as well, or jam, and yogurt as well. And soured cream is used almost with everything we eat. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but with many foods. Popular foods. If anyone is interested in some recipes, I'll be more than happy to offer you and send you some recipes. Leave me, or maybe if you leave your emails, I can do it. But I'm sure they will come with their own recipes, and every family have recipes which are slightly different. But in general, Obviously, bread is important. I've mentioned this before, and there is a variety of bread which is called Ukraiński chleb, Ukrainian bread. It's a rye bread, very basic, but rye bread. It's quite sour as well, so maybe similar to our sourdough here. So I think sourdough can be quite expensive here. I understand this, but I'm just saying that it's probably closer to sourdough than to normal white bread. But Ukrainians love normal white bread. My father just enjoys cheap white bread here. Absolutely is happy with it. I mean, not that I'm saving money on him. He just loves it. They like to put some butter on the top. With butter, Ukrainians don't get salted butter. So it just has to be normal butter, unsalted butter. I still don't like salted butter, even though I've been here for a long, long time, and many traditions I love, but salted butter is not my cup of tea. Yeah, so just normal unsalted butter would be great. I'm not quite sure about the spreads. I think Philadelphia and this kind of spread, sort of, so a cheese spread would be lovely because, as I said, dairy is liked very much by everyone, but butter, which is easy to spread, might not go down too well, but just not salty, definitely not salty. I think many of you know what borscht is, but if you don't, I'll just tell you a few words. So borscht is a beetroot soup. So the ingredients are quite basic. So it's grated or chopped up, depends on the family. Beetroots, onions, carrots, cabbage, just normal white cabbage, and pieces of potato and tomato. So can be vegetarian option or can be cooked on a chicken stock or beef stock. So that's borscht. It's quite traditional. It's very traditional Ukrainian soup. Yeah. And it's eaten with sour cream, which can be added into the soup after it's cooked. And when you plate it, you put like a tablespoon of sour cream. And then pieces of garlic. Garlic can be chopped up and sprinkled on the top, or eaten, just you dip garlic in salt and eat it, and then eat borscht. So you may see people doing this. It's normal, it's traditional. So pieces of garlic just dipped into salt and enjoyed with borscht and bread. Котлеты. Котлеты, the word that comes from cutlets, a French word actually, cutlets, but it doesn't mean cutlets. Котлеты are made from minced meat. The most traditional versions are you will put half of minced pork, half of minced beef, and add grated onions, a little bit of garlic, and some bread soaked in milk, and then mix it well together with an egg and fry on a frying pan in some oil. So you make like sort of like meat patties, like large meatballs, whatever you like calling it, and you fry on both sides up until they're cooked. You can compare them with burgers, but they're not quite burgers. So because burgers, yeah, they are not quite burgers. Can be made of chicken mince or turkey mince, but they're definitely minced meat. So I'm pretty sure you will see people cooking them. So that's what котлета is. Голубцы. Голубцы is stuffed cabbage leaves, and you can see the picture on the right. Actually, we like stuffing everything with meat, minced meat and rice. So can be peppers stuffed with minced meat and rice. It can be like, marrows, large marrows cut into pieces, the inside removed and filled with minced meat and rice. So different options really. But голубцы are very popular. Again, they're eaten with sour cream, and it's just minced meat mixed with partly cooked rice, and then wrapped into cabbage leaves and cooked in tomato sauce. And then you put some sour cream on the top and enjoy them. Just a little tip for you, in case your guests inquire, white cabbage here, which we use for голубцы in Ukraine, doesn't work. Okay, let me paraphrase it. White cabbage that you can buy from shops here is not right for голубцы. It's too hard. You can't separate individual leaves. So suggest they use Savoy cabbage. If it ever comes to this conversation, Savoy cabbage is a really good alternative, lovely, tasty green leaves, and they're easy to separate, and you can wrap meat with rice. They can also, Golubцы can be vegetarian, so you can obviously go for rice mixed with some chopped up vegetables. It's not that common because I think veganism and vegetarianism becomes more popular in Ukraine, but it's not as popular as it is here. So yeah, be aware that the people might be meat eaters. If you are vegetarian, vegan, and it's important for you to talk about it. Vareniki and pelmeni. Pelmeni you probably know, which is known like Russian dumplings. Sometimes they're called. Vareniki are bigger, but there also is very simple dough is made. It's flour, water, and salt mixed together to make quite hard dough. And then it's rolled out in very thin sheets. And then you make rounds out of them and put inside whatever you like. So pelmeni are made with meat always, and they're quite small. Vareniki, they come from the word varit. Varit is to boil. Obviously, when to cook them, you boil. Vareniki can be filled with anything, with potatoes, with meat, with cooked cabbage, with anything. That's very traditional as well. And again, I'm more than happy to send a few recipes. If you want, just let me know, because I absolutely love cooking. I know it all by heart. No, that's misspelled. Sorry, flattened meat, not flattened meat. I think, yeah, flattened meat. So I've got a meat tenderizer, big one. I love it because, as I've said, mostly food is soft. So we like soft food. So instead of cutting through a hard and thick piece of meat, we would slice meat thinly, tenderize it, so beat it to make it very thin, and then maybe dip it in whisked egg and a bit of flour and fry on a frying pan. And we call it bitochki, but it's just sort of flattened meat with fried in, can be breadcrumbs, quite similar to schnitzel. Chicken Kievs, I'll be really honest with you, in my family, no one have ever cooked chicken Kievs at home. I only tried them in restaurants, so they're not as traditional as people think they are here. And to be honest, it's quite difficult to make proper chicken Kievs. I made them here for the first time. To make them properly, you don't take minced chicken and then put a piece of butter in the middle. You take a chicken breast, you need to open it gently so it stays intact. And you also leave a bone. But to be honest, it's really difficult to cook this bone, and you don't want a raw bone sticking out of your food. So I gave up on this, honestly. So I think better just go to a supermarket if you want and buy it. My girls love chicken Kievs from supermarket. Pyrishki are small pies which can be filled with anything. Usually they're made of yeast dough, can be filled with meat, can be filled with potatoes, cabbage, all these common ingredients, and baked in oven or fried on a frying pan. And again, as I've said, more than happy to throw a few recipes for you. Sorry about this, that's my phone. Tworog. I mentioned how important it is in diet of Ukrainian people. That's how the tworog we like eating looks on the right-hand side. So it's usually quite dry. So you can see people who like buying cottage cheese. We don't buy cottage cheese much in this house, but I know some people love it. So cottage cheese is usually much wetter, I think, and it has a bit of salt. Tworog is actually very easy to make. What I do, especially for Easter, we have wonderful dishes, something I didn't include, but we can meet again and talk about it. I just buy, what do I buy? Yeah, I buy yogurt, unsweetened yogurt, put yogurt in glass jars, and then put in water and boil water for a while. And sort of basically the yogurt cooks and separates. So tworog goes up and liquid, yellowish liquid, I don't know what we call it here, to be honest, it stays at the bottom. But as I've said, you can buy it in Polish shops and quite in a few supermarkets where there are Polish aisles. Tworog is used not just for eating like this, but as I've said, with a bit of sugar and sour cream. There are lots of lovely dishes made of it, and you can see sirniki at the bottom, this second picture, which is like little fried cakes made of tworog, sugar, eggs, and a little bit of flour. So they're quite tasty and delicate. A bit like cheesecake, but not quite cheesecake, you know, so they're cheesy. And vareniki that I already mentioned, again, tworog can go inside of them. Little pies can be made with tworog. So tworog is used very, very often for all sorts of things, mostly sweet things, but can be also savory. Main ingredients just in general. If I want, I always have them at home here, because if I want to cook something, I'll definitely need potatoes. Potatoes go everywhere, every soup. We love potatoes, and okay, not everywhere in Ukraine you can get nice potatoes. I was lucky to live in Kiev, and my grandparents had a big piece of land, and I helped them to grow vegetables, and we have gorgeous potatoes. But in the south, potatoes are not that good. Ukraine is big, but they had lovely grapes and pears and so on in the southern part of Ukraine. Potatoes are quite common, and there are lots of dishes cooked out of potatoes. Mostly you have to go for starchy potatoes here, otherwise dishes wouldn't turn up well. So it's like baking potatoes would go better and would be a better option for cooking Ukrainian dishes. Onions go everywhere. You agree probably with me. I like onions everywhere. Every time I cook, onions go first. Other root vegetables, carrots, obviously, beetroots, and anything else you like, they will enjoy it as well. Pork is quite common, but many people are giving up because it's fatty. We also have something called sala. Sala is salted pig, hold on, let me phrase it. Salted fat. So it's kind of, it's a pig fat on a skin, salted and eaten raw. You can't get it here. People might mention it. If you want to try it, come to my house. I've got a piece in the freezer. Yeah, but honestly, it's something I don't eat myself, but my father loves, and many Ukrainian, and not just Ukrainian people, love it. So pork was quite common, still liked. Chicken, obviously, easy to cook, quick, everyone likes chicken. Pickled and soured vegetables, maybe because in the past we couldn't buy any fresh vegetables during the winter and autumn period. We always made lots of pickles and lots of, when I put soured vegetables, I mean in brine, so they are naturally soured rather than adding vinegar. And some of them are very easy to make at home. For example, cabbage, I make at home, and it takes 3 days to make nice sour cabbage. But again, people know themselves how to make it. They might want to share with you. It's quite sour, so you may not like it. You may like it, but worth trying. Yeah, cabbage is also very common. Mental health was something I thought I must mention. Now we were talking just about culture quite for a while, but people who will come to your houses, some of them may not have experienced bombings or shellings because they just moved being scared for their lives and lives of their children. Others will have gone through this traumatic experience. And we have a family we know in Kiev, know quite well. I can't call them friends, but they're close to they were friends of my mom and my father. So they're now hosting and offered their home to a family from Bucha. Bucha is a small town, not far from Kiev, which is now almost completely destroyed. So those people spent 2 weeks hiding in shelters. And then when there was a green corridor, they left and moved to Kiev. So I don't think it's much safer in Kiev now, but it's definitely safer than in Bucha, or was in Bucha at the time. And is this family a woman, a child? I'm not quite sure. I think he's about 9 years old, and a man. Man is okay. He helps with military defense, helps everyone. He goes out. He's fine, more or less. The woman is absolutely terrified. And she doesn't go out at all. She doesn't let her child go out at all with anyone else either. And whenever she hears a loud sound, it can be door slammed accidentally or something like this, she runs into the corridor and hides. And that's what they were advised to do, because not everywhere shelters were available. If you're at home when bombings start, go to corridor, sit and sort of on the floor near the wall. So you may watch people doing this. So it's important for you to understand why they're doing this. And I think just let them be for a while, because well, my father told another story about his grandmother who lived and actually lost her husband during the Second World War. And yeah, she was scared for the rest of her life of loud noises, and she would just lie on the floor and ask to be covered with blankets when the thunderstorm started. She knew it was a thunderstorm, but she was scared. She couldn't do anything about it. So maybe if you encounter this kind of behavior, talk to them with maybe interpreter's help or someone else and ask, what can we do to help? And maybe just covering with a blanket, maybe sitting in the corridor, just let them go through this traumatic experience, whatever that helps them to cope with it. It's quite useful in cases like this just to work out maybe a little list of things that can be done, but that's probably for them to do, not so much for you. For example, when they're scared, it can be talking to a friend, it can be having a cup of tea, I don't know, sitting in a corridor in a corner or covering your face. Can be things that they need to work out, but I guess it's probably more to the people who will be helping them with mental health issues than to you. But I wanted to bring it up that you may encounter behavior that you'll find difficult to understand. It's down to their traumatic experience. I guess if they see this, encourage them to talk to their GP. Unfortunately, what we saw from this woman who I mentioned from Bucha, because I'm supporting quite a lot of families, more financially, but also mentally in Kiev, I said, I can find her a therapist who will happily talk to her in Russian or Ukrainian, whatever she prefers. Her response was, do you think I'm mad? So not everyone, and again, it goes back to the history, because in Soviet times, people who were politically incorrect and didn't agree with the state, sometimes they were sent to Siberia, or if there wasn't a good, well, they couldn't find enough or create a reason for sending them to labor camps, they were sent to mental hospitals. So mental hospitals are not, so it's only now that people start thinking of mental health as help for everyone, that we need to look after our body, but we also need to look after our mental health, so that it's normal. Many people will have quite negative reaction, like, oh, do you think I'm mad? But I think that's all we can do for them, because if you're not a specialist in this area, you can't really provide big help. So they need to seek advice from specialists. And I know that you just go to GP, you're being referred to someone else, they will offer interpreters and might be able to give professional help. Another thing, I will carry on, there is my webpage at the bottom, I will carry on supporting everyone I can for as long as I can. I want to find a few therapists with Russian and Ukrainian who will be happy to work online, maybe for free, or we can fund them so they can provide help to these people who need. At the moment, I don't have names yet to say that we definitely have this sorted out, but I will be looking into it because I know it's a big issue. Yeah, I have already told you about this, but obviously very important, especially if they have health issues, to register with GP, and I told you how it can be done. People don't know a system here, so they wouldn't know how to register their child at school. Honestly, I don't know. I've got my nephew coming in 2 days from Ukraine. He's 12 years old. I have no idea how I'm going to approach this issue, whether we'll be offered a place at school or not, how long it will take. Honestly, all the information I know, I'll feed back to you, or I'll put on my webpage, or just contact me directly, because I should know more quite soon, because my nephew is coming on Saturday. So we'll start looking into schools. What I know about registering with GP, and I already explained you, it's not difficult. Finding a school, apparently, according to the law and what is created at the moment, councils must provide schools for the children. They will, because they will be funded in addition, so maybe they get a few more teachers. I don't know how they're going to do, but they must do it. There was a newspaper article somewhere, I can't really tell you now, but I saw it actually with my own eyes. Also, people will come most likely without money. And it's, first of all, obviously they will be vulnerable. They will feel vulnerable because they left their country. They left their husbands, children left their fathers, and God knows, some quite often grandparents don't want to travel anywhere. So, but also they will most likely come without the money. So helping them to go through forms, to fill forms for benefits is important. So they get a little bit more independence. Something I didn't include because I forgot, I'll say they will need to open bank accounts as well. I haven't opened a bank account yet with my father, but today I was asked to come to BRI for children in Bristol to interpret for a woman with a sick child with cancer, actually a sweet child, half a year old. But hopefully, well, actually, they're very optimistic. They think they can treat him and he might recover and have a normal life, or he probably will, and I hope so. He's gorgeous. But there were people who helped her to fill in forms, and these forms can be very long. They're all available online now. You go to gov.uk, and there are all these forms, and obviously child benefits, they will all be eligible for child benefits, also universal credit. And if a child is disabled, for example, then what it's called, then the forms for is a DLA if the child is disabled. What is it? Disabled something allowance. And yeah, thank you. And then the carer will also be entitled to apply for extra benefits as well, because she will be looking after this child. It's important to do it quickly because it takes a long time. So DLA takes 6 to 8 weeks to process and get result. Today we filled in a form for universal credit, and the woman was told that the first payment will be on the 30th of April, so in a month's time. And I guess it will be even slower when there are more of refugees here. So it's quite paramount to do it as soon as possible. Again, it's not that difficult. They will need to create an account using their email number, and obviously add information on where they stay and telephone number, and then fill in the forms online, supply them online, and hopefully hear, well, quite soon back and start getting payments. Obviously, they will need to have a bank account. I haven't opened a bank account for my father, but I asked today these ladies who worked for Universal Credit. They said all you need to do is just to take them to bank, make an appointment with the bank, go to bank with an interpreter if they don't understand English. And I'm volunteering to help with interpreting, so I'll be here for you as long as I can take it, honestly. You need to prove, I guess you will have to come with them to say that they are actually living at your address, because they wouldn't have a single post coming to your address to prove that they live there. So there won't be council bills or anything else coming in their name. So I think they will have to take your word for it. And then the account will be created and money would go to this account, and they will get a bank card within 2 to 5 working days. Yeah. What I put at the very bottom, courage to live, not to wait. Many of them will feel they're just here to wait until the war is over, but they actually need to live their life. And they are in England, they have to make an effort and learn language. You made an effort to invite them, and you're making a big effort. They need to learn language. So I'm going to talk to council and ask them to provide us with a place for maybe Ukrainian club, and hopefully this that will be picked in other places, maybe in Bristol as well, a place where they could just come, maybe with the same forms, to be helped to fill them in, and also English classes. At the moment, I've started already teaching online for free the refugees. It's only the first tiny baby steps because it's quite sort of difficult. People of different ages, we need to get the same books to make it work and so on. Not everyone understands how Zoom works, and on the phones that they have, sometimes sound doesn't work. So at the moment, it's really difficult and frustrating because of these things, but hopefully we'll overcome that. But they need to make that big effort to learn English. Even if it's a few months, that's a useful experience, it's a useful knowledge for them to have in their future, wherever they are in a few months. And yeah, encourage to socialize. Again, I'm hoping we'll be able to organize something like clubs, maybe in big cities at least, maybe go and meet people in the similar situation, but also not just focus on those people who know the same language, actually socialize. Maybe if it's children going to school, stop and talk to parents, go for a coffee. So that's very important, so they feel part of the culture, part of the life here, not just we are sitting and waiting until it's over.